So, as you can tell by my declining voice, Worlds happened. In fact, it was my first Worlds ever. And I don't know who wrote the script, but I couldn't have asked for a better experience. With the outcome being simple. Faker now has more skins than half of the champions. Anyway, I had an absolute blast talking to people, taking 800 pictures with people, talking to the devs, stealing Trindamir's coaster, and that's all while not getting stabbed in London. There's gonna be a whole separate vlog about that. But today we are talking about something else. We are talking about something that has been on everyone's mind for a while. Simply said, it is the fact that out of all the champions League has, Ambessa is kinda getting everything. Like, really, from a 0 to 100, Ambessa seemingly became the focus of League of Legends. Riot is simply going wild with the budget around her, while other champions, such as Shaco, struggle to have 2 canon sentences. So the obvious question is, what's going on here? Well, if you connect the dots, it becomes fairly obvious. So for us to cover that, let's first find the dots. So, Ambessa was originally revealed in a dev update more than half a year ago. And there, a lot of people got surprised because Ambessa was never really a focus of Arcane. There was a lot of other characters and other storylines that seemed to be more important. For example, I always thought that Savika would have a far better potential to be a champion. But nope, it turned out to be Ambessa, and she started appearing in more and more promotional materials. She got her own Arcane posters, she started appearing in the trailers, and very recently she popped up on PBE as a very spectacular champion. And I mean that in the true sense of that word. It is a spectacle to behold her on the battlefield. Yes, the dashes are still a bit controversial, but you can't deny the fact that she does have the cool factor. But the fact that her entire gameplay loop is seemingly about looking cool is only one part of this massive puzzle. Because then, out of nowhere, Ambessa also got a canon cinematic. This is very rare for a champion to have, at least on the scale that Ambessa got it. You could compare it to someone like Briar, who got a full cinematic, instead of someone like Smolder, who got a PowerPoint presentation. But really, Ambessa is more on a scale of someone like Yone. Someone who is simply big in the lore, and he got a really chunky cinematic. In fact, multiple of them technically. And similar to that with the entire Spirit Blossom skin line, Ambessa's cinematic is also there to set up a whole new skin line. But that same cinematic also featured one of the most popular characters we have in this universe. At least when it comes to League's media, and that is Kindred. They may not be the most popular champion in the game, even though they are still popular, but especially in the videos and the posters, Kindred are really popular. And because they are so interesting, wherever you shove them, the popularity is gonna go up. In fact, it is one of the big reasons why Still Here did so well. Kindred simply made it better. However, on top of all of this, Ambessa has one more thing. Her release skin, which is part of the new skin line that she established, is a legendary. And that is something very unique for Riot to do. And they only do it when there is a very special reason for it. For example, Seraphine got her first skin as an ultimate skin because she was tied to a real band. And so it made sense to make that part of the marketing. If this was the first time Riot did something like this, I wouldn't be surprised if Ambessa also got an ultimate skin as her first skin. But since they got burned by Seraphine's release, I believe that's the reason why they didn't fully commit. Anyway, combining all of these things together, it seems like Riot is setting up Ambessa as a very important character. Now yes, we could argue that maybe Riot should have used another character that is already established in the universe to do all of this with. I mean, there is a lot of other champions who could really use this kind of love, but it's easier to collaborate on this kind of marketing with a brand new character because you are starting from scratch. But still, that wouldn't be it for Ambessa. In fact, besides being in Arcane, besides getting her own cinematic, besides getting a lot of lore with her own skin that is actually canon and is legendary, she also passed the point of no return, And we know that Ambessa is gonna stick around for a while now, and dare I say she might be progressing League's universe forward. Yeah, I know we said it in the past with champions like Bel'Veth, but this time it feels different. And that is because Ambessa is also getting her own book. Or specifically, the term is a novel. And it is titled Ambessa, Chosen of the Wolf. See, this novel, written by C.L. Clarke, first appeared on Amazon with the release date of February 18th, 2025, which is well after Arcane finishes. With that said, even after reading the description of the book, I can tell you now there don't seem to be any Arcane 2 spoilers. I am pretty sure at this point Riot is aware of what they are doing and they wouldn't make such a stupid mistake. I mean, technically there is one extremely tiny spoiler, like from 0 to 10, I would say this is about a 2 out of 10 spoiler. But it seems, and I guess here is the tiniest spoiler alert possible, that Ambessa survives the events of Arcane 2, which, to be fair, I don't think her character was ever in any real danger, but the description suggests that her story is gonna continue after Arcane, and that for the most part it will not be just a prequel. I mean, the book does have Arcane on its label, so it seems like after we are done with Arcane, Ambessa is gonna be the one who is leading the charge forward. Which, now, looking back, it would make sense why Ambessa would have such a big marketing budget. But as to how she is going to progress this universe, well, let's have a look at the description. And again, don't worry, there won't be any Arcane spoilers here. It is mostly recapping the bio we got on Universe. Ambessa Medarda, warrior, general, mother. She is a woman to be feared, and the Medardas are unrivaled in their pursuit of glory. She has led conquests and armies. She has slain legendary beasts. She has made grave sacrifices in her ascent up ranks, and for this she was rewarded. She entered the realm of death, and she was granted a vision of herself upon the throne of the vast Noxian Empire. But before she can lead her empire, she must become the head of her own clan. Yet the title is contested by her cousin and former confidant, Tafik. He knows the bloody sins of Ambessa's past, and he knows he cannot allow her to rise. Just a note, up until this point, the description is not talking about Ambessa becoming the head of her clan in Piltover. It is actually talking about Ambessa's past in Noxus and Shurima. So all of this is technically a prequel to Arcane. They will fight a war for the very soul of the Medardas, but the war won't be fought on battlefields alone. Ambessa's daughter, Mel, can deftly break through the walls around anyone's heart, and she'll put her talents to use for her mother. Yet, despite Mel's strength, Ambessa sees only a child who lacks her killer instincts. Mel knows she cannot be the leader Ambessa wants her to be, if only she gives her time. With her family betraying her, enemies closing in on all sides, and unseen forces moving in the shadows, every day proves more dangerous than the last. But Ambessa will not bow. She will burn the world down to claim her place in it. So, that was the description of the book. I told you, not really anything to spoil Arcane. But that is where we can put on our tinfoil hats. Yeah, that's right. Even without knowing anything, people got crazy with the theories and things got cool really quickly. And I'll admit, I am not the one who came up with this theory. In fact, I'm not sure who did. But there is one really cool theory on the internet that I have to bring up. You see, the description mentioned that Ambessa saw a vision from her future where she was sitting on the Noxian throne, which means Ambessa wants to lead Noxus. Now, after Swain claimed the throne of Noxus, there is no longer just a single leader. In the past, that used to be the Grand General. But because a single leader can always get corrupted, Swain established what is now known as the Triforix, or in other words, 3 separate leaders who lead Noxus, so that when one gets corrupted, the other 2 can probably take him down. In this Triforix, we have 3 figures known as Vision, Might, and Guile. Vision is represented by Swain, Might is represented by Darius, but Guile was always teased to be LeBlanc. And what's interesting is that in the different teasers and trailers, LeBlanc also seems to be related to Ambessa. Also, the description of the book mentioned that there are enemies lurking in the shadows. But while Guile was always teased to be LeBlanc, in the lore, Guile is represented by a mysterious character who is wearing a golden mask and who is paying a tribute to the wolf. Both of which are things that would fit Ambessa. So now the theory is that Ambessa is gonna join the leadership of Noxus as Guile. Obviously, we have no idea if LeBlanc is gonna be somehow involved in this, or if it is LeBlanc's plan from the very beginning, which would essentially make Ambessa LeBlanc's puppet, but that is one really cool theory. Just so it's clear, the idea is that LeBlanc is currently using a dummy person in the leadership, which means that when the time comes, she can easily remove that dummy and replace it with Ambessa. It has nothing to do with Ambessa being sneaky or mysterious or anything like that. What is also nuts is that 4 years ago, we got this tweet from the narrative lead. The reason I am so confident when I say LeBlanc is not part of the Triforix is because some of us here do know who the representative of Guile actually is. And I know when that reveal will happen. This, unironically, fits into this theory. It fits into LeBlanc possibly putting Ambessa into this position, but it also fits the 4 years of development a champion would normally have, which also includes Arcane and all the story they had to write for Ambessa. So, just remember this theory in case it ever becomes true, because this one has been waiting there for a while. But that is it for the theory, so just very quickly, let's go back to the book. This is where some of you may ask, are you gonna cover the book? You didn't even cover the Ruination after all. And yeah, I will say that one was different. The issue the Ruination had is that was a story that was told a few times through different media. And so the people who already knew what happened didn't really get the interest in learning about it again, despite the fact that there was a lot more details, and we learned about more champions who were involved, such as Soraka or Ryze. Which also kinda left everyone to believe that the Ruination book didn't do that well. And we were afraid that League would never get another novel again. But here we are, and it seems like Riot is not afraid to do the same thing again. Despite the fact that books and novels generally don't sell that well around the gaming audience. With that said, I also want to mention that the Ruination book was a bit unfortunate, because it did come out around the time League's lore started to slow down, which also meant that the general interest in lore was not that great. And for me personally, it started becoming more and more obvious that covering lore is not the way to go forward. Which is why I started covering news and drama and Riot's MMO. However, I always planned to cover the book eventually, and now I can tell you, when it happens, I'm just gonna cover the entirety of Viego's story. That's right, expect a 2-hour Viego lore video, starting with the Ruination book, going into the Ruination game, followed by Viego's bio, by Gwen's bio, and by the Sentinels of Light. I'll see if I can also fit in whatever happened in Wild Rift 2. And also the epilogue we got with Yorick. So yeah, that one might actually become a movie. So will I cover the Ambessa book? Hopefully, I mean the general Arcane audience is gonna be interested in that, but I don't wanna prevent Riot from selling the books, because we do wanna see more of the books. Which is where I can also bring up a really cool piece of news. You see, don't worry, I know that everyone who plays League is illiterate and they can't read. After all, my entire channel is based on that fact. So yes, the Ambessa book will also have an audiobook. See, Riot is taking care of you.